Welcome to episode 6 of Your ADHD Life. Tah-Da, to-do lists for every ADHD day. Managing time can be one of the biggest bugaboos for somebody with ADHD, but today's guest talks about all the various ways that she manages her to-do lists and manages time using paper and pencil, different apps, and sometimes technology, and even a timer. Enjoy the show. Your ADHD Life is an online community for people living with ADHD. And this is Dr. Kirsten Milliken, psychologist, coach, and host of this show. On each episode, I'm going to be talking with adults, parents, teens, partners, and other people who are diagnosed with or affected by ADHD. Each week, people just like you share their challenges, successes, tips, and tactics, and sometimes questions for living with ADHD. Your ADHD Life provides education, inspiration, and connection to the ADHD tribe. Enjoy the show. All right, I am here with the beautiful, talented, and amazing Miss Lisa, who I met in Arizona at an ACO conference years ago.
And yes, I met Kirsten at a conference, and we've been in touch ever since. I know I saw you at a couple conferences.
We did. We played together in New Orleans. That was fun.
In New Orleans, yes, that was really fun.
Yes.
Yeah. And I read your book too, by the way. But as far as me, I was diagnosed. I actually diagnosed myself with ADHD as much as I possibly could, because I was in nursing school and learning about what it was, and I thought, wow, this sounds awfully familiar. So I went to a doctor and a psychiatrist, and I said, this is what I do. What do you think? You think I have this? And he just gave, it wasn't an extensive test, but he did the questionnaire thing. Yep. And I definitely, I passed with flying colors. So, so I was diagnosed with inattentive ADHD. So, I'm, as I said, I'm a registered nurse, and I recently got more involved, in the last few years with the ADHD community as I became interested in, how to manage my ADHD. And I had decided that I wanted to be an ADHD coach, and I took courses at ADCA. And I'm kind of in a career transition right now. Yeah. Well, I am, but I had quite a year this year. I got run over by a car. I fractured my ankle. Ugh. I lost my job. I got laid off. And so I decided I'd better seek support, and I better find some good people to be behind me. So, yeah. So I have Kirsten supporting me coaching me with managing my time as I'm job hunting. And I'm really looking now for just a job, a nursing position that I'll enjoy enough. And I say enough because I still kind of have it in the background that I would love to coach. And I want to find a nursing job that I like more than my last job. It was a phone job, and I was sitting all day and just making calls, and it was very repetitive. I did it for 13 years, which is unusual for someone with ADHD. Yeah. But I managed to do it for 13 years, but realized, and as I learned more about ADHD, I really understood why I didn't like it, because I was missing the challenge, the variety, the novelty, all those things that we need. Yes. And I like to be active, even though I don't have the H. Supposedly, I think I might have a little bit of the H.
I think the doctor missed the boat on that one. Well, and one of the things that I say too is, even if the hyperactivity isn't outward all the time, mentally we all have that internal hyperactivity, right? So it's in one form or another all the time. I don't think there's no such thing as ADHD without the H. So.
Definitely. Yeah.
Oh, she's getting up and moving. Taking us with her. We're getting a tour of the house.
Yes, I'm showing my kinesthetic phase here. I had to turn the temperature down. It's very hot in here.
Oh. Temperature sensitivity, right? That's an issue for people with ADHD too.
Yeah, yeah.
So let's talk about, though, you're so funny. So we started talking about like your plan for making sure that you have a job when you need to have one. And each day you've been sending me your to-dos for the day. And tell me about your to-do lists.
Okay, well, you know how I said a few minutes ago that I love variety.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
they change from day to day, as often as I, change my underwear. I don't know if you need to edit that out. But
it's good to know you change your underwear.
But, yeah. Which, I do that every day, by the way.
Right,
So,
good, good.
Yeah, so anyway, I found something that I never, to be honest, I never trust, like when I find something that it's going to be the one, because I haven't found the one yet where I say, yes, it's the one and it remains the one. So,
yep.
But anyway, this is what's working for me now.
Now literally meaning today.
Today. Actually, it's worked for me. I could tell you exactly because I have the dates in here, but I'm using a spiral notebook, and I have been doing this since July oh wow, this book is since the beginning of July at least.
Wow, and we're almost mid-July now, so. Yeah,
actually June, but the list changed. It metamorphed, whatever. It changed, and so anyway, I'm doing it so that it has everything I need, which includes like at the top on the spiral on the left side, I have just the day of the week, and this is my daily thing. Yep. And so just to back up a little, I also have a weekly planner that's like a pre-printed thing that I bought. It's a planner pad.
Yep.
So I can see my whole week with my appointments and everything. But I like to pull out my day because it's overwhelming for me to look at that whole week each day. So,
yes.
So every night, thanks to Kirsten now, with your encouragement, I am for maybe 3 whole days or more, I have been writing my schedule the night before, and that's making a huge difference. So I pull it out from this weekly thing, and I put it on the spiral. And I just have, like, on the top, on the left side, I have my appointments and time-specific things on the top.
Yep.
And then I pulled out a few to-dos, from that weekly plan. And then one of the most important things, and I've kind of just found this on my own, that it works for me. So it's my, like, custom-made strategy. But I put, like, on the bottom of the left side of the page, I put AM, and I have my whole routine written out.
Yes.
And then on the right side, I don't know if you can see it. But anyway, on the right side, I have a space for, like, notes, which is really coming in handy during my job hunt, because when I talk to prospective people on the phone, employers, I'm writing down what they told me and whatever anything I need to do. And then I have my afternoon, I have a space for afternoon and a space for evening too, so that nice. I can write kind of in sequence my routine stuff, and also just like when I'm going to do that stuff that's on the list, so that it's out here on the paper, not in my head. So.
All right. So many things. So first, tell me about how is it different for you writing your to-dos at night as opposed to doing them in the morning for the next day?
Well, when if I don't do it, I can spend the whole day trying to figure out what I'm going to do. And there's too much overthinking. I think there's a combination of things. That at night I have lower energy and I can sit with it and I'm not overthinking it as much. And I write out what I do. It doesn't take me nearly as long as it does if I try to do it in the morning.
Yeah.
And then when I get up, I can jump in and I already know. I don't have to strategize. I just jump in.
Yeah.
So
taking some of the effort out of it in the morning or whenever you're about to do something always makes a big difference. If there's less decisions to be made, right? You can just start doing it. Now, the other thing I remember is when we started, you were sending me your lists and you said, I'm so sorry. There's so much stuff on these lists. And I said, well, I think this is great, right? Because you were, as you were pointing out, putting all the items for your morning routine in it. And then all of the little things that you were going to do during the day. And I thought that was fantastic. And you said, I don't know, I've been told that I shouldn't do all of that. But it works for you.
Apparently.
Yeah.
It seems like even the routine stuff that I know I'm going to do, there's something about writing it down that activates. You mentioned that one of my challenges is activation, and that seems to really help me with activation. Yep. Just writing it down. When I see it, I do it. I want to mark it off, so I'm motivated to make it go away.
See, I love that. Right, it does it. First of all, you're dumping it out of your brain, right? So and I love, Mike Vardy, and he always says, right, your brain is a factory, not a warehouse. And so we're thinking that it's a sign of intelligence to hold everything in our heads all the time, and it's really not. And so putting it out on a piece of paper or in a to-do list or in an app or something else outside of your head is fantastic. It's a relief. And then, seeing it in front of you makes it easier to organize it, remember it, all those things. And then checking it off is like, yay! It does. It gets you going. So the more things you can check off, the more you get your brain activated. So even if they're the silly things like, I brushed my teeth, I took a shower, I, ate my cereal every single day. Right. So why not?
Right.
So
because I'm a very good meanderer.
No.
Yes. Yeah, I follow that trail,
We've talked too about the fact that when you were working, like you did the same routine in a much more condensed period of time, and you were out the door. And now that you don't have that imposed structure in your morning, that things have changed.
Yes. You know what? It's interesting. I have found this week I had 2 interviews. Well, one didn't turn out to be an interview, but two places I had to be fairly early at 10 a.m. And I noticed such a difference in my day that once I was up and going, by the end of the day, I felt I had a productive day. So
amazing.
It's
having to connect with other people makes a difference when you have those appointments and have to be there, as opposed to always say, my calendar doesn't care, right? You can write down, I'm going to do such and such at 10 o'clock, but if it doesn't involve another person, it's like, 10-ish, whatever. So, because your calendar's not going to say, hey, where are you? I thought at 10 o'clock you were going to be doing this thing. So...
But you know what? I have my friend Alexa here, and she asked me, I can make her ask me anything I want her to ask me. So
I love Alexa. She's great for reminders, right? But you have to remember to ask her to remind you.
Right. That's true.
So
that's true.
It does require a little bit of input. So, and she, at the end of the day, Lisa, let's be real, Alexa doesn't care. As much as we want to think she does. She's not.
There's nothing like human people. There's nothing like people. But I will say, actually, I will say it's funny. I didn't get it. I got it more for fun, like to play music and stuff. But I've just been playing around with it. And when I'm needing to do a bunch of like little things, like that I just don't feel like doing, and I'm having trouble getting activated, I'll say, I'll ask her to remind me about the next thing. I'll say, remind me in 10 minutes.
Oh.
Are you done with this yet? And then I'll say, remind me in 15 minutes now. Are you done with? have you done this yet?
Brilliant. Oh, I hadn't thought about using her that way, because I have one too. And I got it mostly for music. And every once in a while, I remember that she can do alarm things and reminders and things like that. So she's much more agreeable, I find, than Siri. Siri often doesn't want to cooperate. So
right.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So you are using right now for your primary organization or to-do list your notebook, but you've also had some other apps and tools that you've used even in the last couple of weeks. What else do you use?
Well, my main thing, which is my my home base, and I'm noticing I can switch things around and just let my brain be what it is, and change this part of my system if I want, as long as I have this. I use Nozby, which is a to-do app that's on my phone, and I consider that like my bucket. So anything I think of, that I need to do, but I'm not doing it today, or I'll put it in there, and I have everything in categories and which day I think I'll do it on. So when I do my night review and I pull onto, I do a weekly where I pull onto the weekly from Nozby, and on the daily, it all comes from there. So yeah.
So that's your place to dump your brain. So that's the everything you think of. Exactly. Oh, I might want to do this, or I got to remember to do that, and then what about? So then during the daytime, because we've talked about different ways to make sure that you get things done, and one of them was scheduling time, and this morning you talked about linking time, which was great. But what are the apps that you use to do that, say when you're scheduling time, when you're going to do things?
Well, as you know, I've been using 30/30, that's one app, and I use it. I use it for a while, and then I'm like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
But when I use it, it's great, So with that,
What's great about it? What do you like about 30/30? Because I use it too occasionally.
What I like is it creates urgency, because you're putting times, you estimate about how much time something's going to take, and then I know, okay, I have 5 minutes to do this, so, and I want to get it done before it goes to the next thing. It's beating the clock.
It is.
So the other thing is, I find that it gives me a little flexibility with my to-dos. So it's easy to shuffle the order of things around on that app. So if it's not best to do, it's easy to also just figure out, what.
Right.
Okay, it's not good time for this. Let me just move it up or down or whatever.
So you're essentially creating blocks for each task that you're going to do, right? And you can color code them, and then you can put them in a sequence, and then you can move the sequence around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you asked me the really, really good question about you told me to ask myself, can I reveal your secrets?
You can say anything. Nothing's a secret. None of it's a secret.
It's such a gem, though. It's such a gem. But for me, it was anyway.
Yeah.
But you said, because when somebody says, "What are your priorities?" I'm like, I don't want to even.
Work. That sounds like work.
Yeah, it sounds exactly. Yeah. So you said, look at your list and just ask yourself what you're going to do today, and the rest are bonus items. So what I did on the 30/30 is I put the ones I knew I was going to do in red, and put them wherever they belonged around the routine stuff, or and so that was kind of linked, because it was in an order.
Right.
And then it's kind of fun because I can do different things with the same concept. So you had suggested also before that, as a bonus for me to just assign a time to a couple things, which sounded so much easier than having to do that to everything, and that's too anal. So, so 2 things is very doable. So, so I assigned times to 2 different things. And that, in 30/30, I could do that. I can just do that on my schedule. And when I do that, I find that the other things I'm more focused on, because I know that if I meander and if I get on Facebook or whatever I do, which is, very creative things ways I can distract myself. I don't do that when I have that time attached to the task or the sequence in the app or, Today, what I did is I did it per place or really by appointments, because I have this appointment and then I have another appointment at 2 and I'm going out at 6. So I just set it so that right after we talk, I'm going to do a Pomodoro. There's another thing. I'm going to do that on my job hunt. When I get to my appointment, right before I go in, I'm going to call my insurance agent. I need something important I need to call about. And then on my way home, after my appointment, I'm going to stop at the drugstore. So I don't even really have to look at the list for those things anymore now that I have that link.
You've anchored them or linked them, right? When one event is anchored to another, it triggers you to do that thing. That's great. So he mentioned one more kind of to-do strategy, which is the Pomodoro. And for people who don't know what that is, explain what that is.
Okay, I'm going to take us for another walk because I need water.
You go right ahead. She's taking care of herself, drinking water. That's good.
Yeah, exactly. Better late than never. So, what I would have been doing if I wasn't in the shower 15 minutes before. Anyway, so the Pomodoro is pretty commonly used technique. Excuse the noise. I don't use it real often because I find that I don't stick to it really well, but sometimes it helps me to break something down that seems overwhelming. So the job hunting is sort of like one of those things where I feel like, oh, this is grueling. I don't want to do it, or I don't know where to start, Yep. So just knowing, 25 minutes is, I guess I should explain the whole thing, but
the short version.
You put it in intervals. Okay. The usual time frame is 25 minutes, and you pick your task and you plural, and you do that task for 25 minutes, and then you take a 5-minute break, and then you go back. You can choose the number of Pomodoros you're going to do.
Yep.
So you do, it's 25 and then a break for 5 minutes and then another 25. And you could alter those times if you want, but that's the usual. And so what I did is just, one Pomodoro, because that's very doable and I have a very busy day today.
Yep.
So I might end up doing 2 depending on my time. How much time I have,
I love the concept of Pomodoros. I mean, because we talk about breaking tasks into chunks anyway, but having something that gives us like a set template as opposed to just saying, I'm going to work for a little while and take a break and leaving it kind of fuzzy. Having that, right, the specific time, I think is helpful.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to getting back on task. So... it's easier to get off task for me than back on task. So I don't know about you. So you were funny because so over the past few weeks you've said, oh yeah, I've got a totally different to-do list today or whatever, and it must be crazy for having all these different strategies. And I said to you, oh, finally somebody else who does this, because I would have clients into my office and they'd say I have a hardest time sticking with one strategy to manage my time. And I said, okay, so what's the problem? Do you have other ones, like more than one? Yeah, I've got lots of them. It's like, great. And I would pull out, I had 6 or 7 different to-do list pads that all looked different. And then, of course, there was the unstructured one that was just doing yours on the notepad. And I was like, it all depends on how your brain's working that day. As long as you have a habit for making sure, whether it's at night or in the morning or in the afternoon, capturing the things that you want to do and coming up with a strategy for how you're going to make sure you do them. So what if it's on a different thing every single day? Because our, ADHD, our brains do work differently. We thrive on novelty, and some days we need more challenge because we need to activate our brains more. Or, I like the color, like the 3030's got a lot of great color to it, and a piece of paper and a pen doesn't do that for me. So unless I use colored markers. So yeah, I think it's fantastic that you have all these different ones.
Thank you. Well, you're perfect for me.
Well, it also, as a coach, right, it also does keep me entertained. It's like, oh, what's she going to use today, right? What's it going to look like today? So, and one of the things that I often tell my coaching clients, and I always think this sounds horrible, but it's, your motivation and movement forward is my entertainment, and I need to be entertained to stay engaged as your coach. So,
right.
So it's good. It's good. You're the perfect client right there. So.
Well, I'm good. I'm glad I could help.
Anytime. So, any specific tips or thoughts that you have about the importance of, just time management in general, or if you want to talk about to-do lists, but.
I think, what I'm coming up with now as we're talking is, it's kind of just to put it all in a context, but I think it's so important to allow that creativity. And I think that's why I'm working so well with you, and things are starting to come together because of your acceptance. You're saying, "Oh, that's cool." Like really, I've never had anybody tell me that. I've had people tell me, "Oh, 5 things a day," or do it. You have to do it this way, one way.
Right.
So I think flexibility. Yes, you need to have the key is that you're moving forward, but.
Right.
But if you need to change daily, fine. As long as you can do it in a way where it's not having you get bogged down in the planning.
Right. Right.
I wanted to share this just because I kind of just discovered it. 'Cause this is an example of true creativity.
Nice.
So my iPhone case is real. It's boring, okay? It's because it's black, and I got it because originally it was cool. It had like a flip thing where you could put your credit cards in it.
Yep.
Unfortunately, they didn't have any colorful ones. So anyway, that got worn out, and I ripped that part of it off. And so I decided to put this yellow strip on here just to give it just gives it a little color. So, and I can find it, So
that's funny.
So all this is it's like paper tape.
Yep.
It's not washi tape. It's stronger than washi tape.
Yep.
But I got it at Office Depot. And yesterday I was with a group of people, so they were telling me things, and my friend said, "Hey, if you're in this area that's near you, go buy me this." And, so I didn't want to just get the phone out and start putting it in my notes. So I just wrote on there the reminder. And then when I got home, I took the tape off and put it on my notebook so that I could add it.
That's brilliant.
So now I have a fresh one on here for the next note I need to put.
Is it almost like painter's tape? Is it like painter's tape?
I don't know if it's called that, but it comes in like a little dispenser like you would get like Scotch tape.
Yeah. But
they have green and blue and yellow. They have all different colors. I mean,
fantastic.
I could probably cover the whole thing if I wanted.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Wow. So there, I think, something? You should patent that idea, right? Right? It's a notepad. You just stick it on your phone. You take it off. You put it on your paper and just put a new one right on your phone because we've always got our phones with us. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
The last thing I wanted to talk about, I say this all the time. The last thing I was thinking we could talk about, and it never is, you, again, similar to me and a lot of other people with ADHD, who are always trying to figure out the right way to get organized and manage time have taken a number of different courses. You've learned from Mike Vardy, his Now Year method, and you've learned about the the David Allen's method, and I'm sure there have been others.
Yeah, David Allen I did before. He kind of led me to Mike Vardy, I think.
Did he?
Because Mike originally did David Allen,
right?
And he fine-tuned it. One of the biggest things that I got from Mike Vardy is there's this need, want. It's the now. He calls it the now year.
Right.
And now is the acronym is need, ought, want, and it's a very simple way to prioritize. And when I use my to-do app on the phone, I have a category for need, ought, want, so that right when I'm putting it in, I can immediately tag it, and then I can filter it, and I can just pull up all my needs. So my intention, and when I'm having an ideal perfect week, and I do it most weeks, at the beginning of the week, I filter the needs to make sure that those are the things I'm sure I have down on my plan,
nice.
that I'm going to do that week. So,
that's great.
So
for the people who are listening, Mike Vardy has a podcast called Productivityist. And you can find that on iTunes and I'm sure other places, and online at productivityist.com. And you can email me if you need to learn how to spell that, because it's a weird word. But he's got a lot of great strategies, and I know I've learned from him around the Now Year method too, having to do with categorizing your days and then the need, ought, and want. So he's got some really neat stuff. So way easier than David Allen's program.
Yeah.
So which can get a little too much. So
yeah. The other huge thing from Mike that I got was the theming, which you just mentioned.
Yep.
And it's helpful. I know we were talking one day how our nonlinear brains sometimes it may not work in every way, but it really does work for me. With like, I have Tuesday is my household day, and it's becoming automatic now that I know that's the day I water my plants. That's the day I do my laundry. Anything, go through my mail, whatever. Monday is admin day, so that's also, I actually spill that over Monday and Tuesday because I never can do all that in one day, but it's terrible.
Boring, right?
Yeah. But I also have fun themes. Like I have, I just moved from Friday to Saturday. I moved my exploring day because Saturdays are like a fun day. You can actually explore,
Yes.
And then a deep work day where, like, if there's things I need to like read and really focus on, I have a certain day. But I allow myself to be flexible with it too. Like there may be days when, it's just a good day to do that, and it may not be Friday or whatever. Right. So I'll do it. But
it goes back to, again, kind of relieving your brain of having to make some decisions, right? That if there's certain tasks on your weekly list that have to get done, that ultimately there's a day that you can assign them to, if they fall into one of those categories, right? So,
right.
Managing time, managing your brain, managing time, getting stuff done.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Miss Lisa, any final thoughts for people that you have around managing time, or just around ADHD in general?
Oh gosh, there's so many things around managing time. I just want to say, like, I think for me the key thing about managing time is to not worry so much about managing time.
Yeah.
Because it's miserable, really. You find what works and go with it, and if you need to switch, and then as far as ADHD in general, I would just say enjoy it.
Yeah. That's kind of the theme on both accounts, right? Enjoy managing your time by going with whatever works for you, and have fun having ADHD. So, yeah.
Yeah, because we're people, so we might as well,
We are really fun
make
people.
Fun.
Yeah. Why take that away? Why take that away? Well, Lisa, thank you so much for joining us on Your ADHD Life. If anybody has a question, you've listened to Lisa and I talk about managing time, you have questions for Lisa or for me, you can send an email to us at podcast@YourADHDLife. If it's for Lisa, let me know and I'll pass it on. It's up to her if she wants to answer. And otherwise, I hope you've enjoyed the show. Have a great day and find some great ways to play. Whether you're listening live or during a replay, if you've learned something or felt inspired by something our guest has shared, please let us know in the comments section. No matter what platform you're listening to us on, if you enjoyed the show, like us and leave a review to keep Your ADHD Life podcast visible and easily accessible to new listeners. Share the show with a friend. And see you next week for the Your ADHD Life podcast live on Tuesdays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on facebook.com/YourADHDLife. Have fun and find ways to play. Until next time.
Right. Well, you know what? You'll be impressed. I did intentionally plan to be on the call at 10:45 since we had said 11. So I would have that 15 minutes to get stuff together.
I'm really glad you did that. I'm really glad you did that.
I really did. I wrote it down and everything. I think I even told you. And I was in the shower though.
You can't hear your alarms so well when you're in the shower.
Right.
Right.
You have very good intentions.